Hi, everybody. I'm George, and this is the best little horror house in Philly, the show where we talk about the best horror movie ever made, according to our guest, at least. And today's guest is our first back for the new year. Definitely not still early December while we're recording this. A writer for the very funny show on Netflix, Inside Job. Please welcome Chase Mitchell. Hey, dude.
Hey, man. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's good to be here.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your history with horror?
Oh, man. I mean, gosh, where to start? Yeah, I've always I don't know what it is about it, but I've just always been a huge horror fan. I mean, I can say that one of my earliest formative memories was seeing Scream in theaters and not really being definitely too young to have been in the theater. I shouldn't have been allowed to go see it at all, but also too young to kind of get the satire of it at the time. And so just was very scared by it, really took it on the level as a straight ahead horror movie, and was just very sad for Drew Barrymore's parents.
Sure.
And yeah, but it's but that kind of I think Scream kind of got the ball rolling, and everything since then has just been I'm just a huge fan.
Hell yeah. Is there a subgenre that tends to jump out at you that you tend to give the benefit of the doubt more often than not?
It's funny. The fact that Scream was the fact that I saw it before I saw other on the level horror movies is kind of funny, because it's such a meta film. And then but those have kind of continued to speak to me since then. I love Cabin in the Woods. That's one of my favorites as well. I love that you can watch Cabin in the Woods and then you can go and watch Friday the 13th, and you're like, okay, well, this is a Cabin in the Woods movie. It's this is how they are sacrificing these people in this order. And yeah,
definitely really cool. I love that kind of commentary stuff. It's so interesting how it kind of creates this feedback loop of reflexive movies that, start commenting on the sort of hallmarks of a genre, and then the on the level movies have to start breaking those tropes to in order to stand out on their own as well. And then those become ripe for parody too.
I guess what I'm kind of saying is that I like a horror comedy, a well executed horror comedy. Obviously very big fan of Shaun of the Dead and stuff like that. So I like when a movie can successfully parody a genre and also be an example of that genre at the same time. Which I think Shaun of the Dead does as well.
Yeah.
And I think Cabin in the Woods does as well. I really like when something can make fun of something, but then also, I don't know. I think kind of coming up through New York stand-up comedy and stuff like that. I think that to make fun of something, because I've seen stand-ups that make fun of stand-up. It's a very kind of New York alt comedy scene thing to do. But I think you kind of have to be able to do the thing in the genre to make fun of it.
Yeah.
I think that all of those are good examples of making fun of a genre while also being a very good example of that genre at the same time.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that today's movie is maybe not making fun of as much as some of those other movies are, but definitely still executes as an homage, but still is definitely its own excellent entry into sort of the style of slasher that our main character becomes. And the movie we're talking about today is The Guest, starring Dan Stevens as the titular guest. Released in 2014, this is directed by Adam Wingard and written by Simon Barrett, a duo who'd worked together on A Horrible Way to Die, as well as the similarly excellent You're Next in 2011 up to this point.
Yeah, love You're Next as well. I have always been I think I've even tagged them on Twitter saying this, but I think that David from The Guest and the woman from You're Next should be in a movie together where they're against each other. I think I think it needs to be a sequel where we pit those two against each other. I think it's inevitable.
Yeah, and Freddy versus Jason for a new age.
Yeah.
Simon in particular seems like a very interesting guy to me. And apparently at one point he was a private detective, which, as you can imagine, leads to a lot of compartmentalization. And Simon said that he became fascinated with people who've got this whole internal weirdness going on, and had already been a fan of movies where a stranger comes to town and shakes up the established dynamic, sort of like Cape Fear and other movies like that. And there's an interesting interview with him where he talks a little bit about the origin of this movie. For You're Next, they'd been interested in revitalizing the home invasion subgenre because they liked it in theory but for the most part felt like the execution was lacking a lot, especially with more modern ones, because they liked sort of that reflexive commentary stuff. You know, they specifically talked about funny games in terms of home invasions and sort of saying that since funny games, there hadn't really been something that turned a mirror back on home invasions in an interesting way. And so they wanted to do that for your next, and I think succeeded, and then do sort of the robotic killer movie for this one. And I think similarly managed to subvert a lot of the expectations that you might have for something like this. For example, Michael Myers is, of course, very charisma-less. He's the shape. He's just a blank mask. And you compare that to David, who is super charming, incredibly handsome. You know, he's pure face. It's how he makes his way in.
Yeah, I've always this one is such a fun one that I've like introduced several people to over the years, and it's always a joy to. A couple of years ago, I brought a date to see this at the Alamo Draft House here in downtown LA, and it is just such a joy to like introduce someone to this movie. And the way that I always describe it, like the very like quick way in, is I'm like it's if Michael Myers was John Wick. And that's kind of the way in, because like it really is like you just watch that switch flip in him, because he comes in and he's very charismatic. There's no fat on this movie also, by the way. Like it is, every scene is in service of the plot. And this guy like enters this family's lives and just like turns it on its head like immediately. And like you're saying, like he's just so charismatic and just like handsome and funny, and goes to a party in one of his first scenes, and like just like when there is a specific scene when he is acquiring his weapons where you see the switch flip, and it is so kind of scary on like a human level to see it happen. And when it does, it's like, but he's so good at it too. When you see it happen, it's just like, oh my God, this guy is not, sort of know going in. But when you see it happen, you're like, wow, this guy is not who I thought he was. And he is not going to be that guy anymore.
Yeah, you see, you know, you've seen hints of it to this point, like when he sits down on the bed and just kind of like stares off into the middle distance. Yeah. But this just feels like even with that, you're like, oh, but look at how nice and helpful he's being. Like, surely he wouldn't actually do anything bad. That's not the case.
Music cues in this too. There's something that they do that Barrett and Wingard do with like I don't even know what you would call it. It's kind of like a music sting, but it's like a almost like a guitar note or something that gets kind of bent. And they do it several times throughout the course of the movie, and it's always like kind of unannounced when it happens, and it's just very good at like putting you off just a little bit, so you know like something very troubling is in the works, something very troubling is happening. Yeah,
definitely. So like I said, Wingard had been vibing with robotic killer movies like Halloween, and Terminator as well was one that they pointed out. And Simon was 60 pages deep in a depressing version of this movie where the equivalent of Caleb and David hated each other, and David killed him and then went to his house to kill his family as even more revenge. And he was like, I don't even want to see this movie at this point. That's so bleak.
Yeah, gosh, I didn't know that. That's it. It's hard to imagine any. I mean, I know that, you know, every movie goes through drafts and rewrites and stuff like that, but it's just kind of hard to picture that this just didn't hit the page like in the exact version that we see.
Yeah,
it's just so perfect as it is. And I'm such a big fan of these guys, and also a huge fan of Your Next, as I was saying earlier, and like it really does feel like the next logical step after Your Next. And it's like I was saying to you before when we were kind of planning this episode, like I think it's maybe kind of debatable whether it's a horror movie or not, because it is very much an action movie as well. Mm-hmm. But I think I would call it like action horror, which I think is a pretty rare subgenre. But it's pretty undeniably horror. Like once you see David become David.
Yeah.
And it also like takes place at Halloween. So it's an extremely effective and good Halloween movie. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think there's also some of the like paranoia thriller elements that get blended in, feel horror-ish to me. When you brought this up as an option, I was immediately on board. So I don't want to hear any complaints out there about if this is a horror movie or not. But they said they're going to blend this Terminator fascination that they had with this movie that they had been writing, or that Simon had been writing. And also, let's get the guy from Downton Abbey in there. They also said there was a version where he was closer to like a Class of 99, kind of like Cyborg, where he had been like so wounded in battle that like when they rebuilt him, he like really had to like get built. Kind of, but then they were like, that's just not the tone that we really want to hit for this. And I think to the movie's benefit.
I think it's better with him being just like the creepiest human that you've ever seen.
Definitely.
I appreciate that there's not like cyborg enhancements there. But it's funny that they mentioned Terminator as an influence. That makes total sense. I think James Cameron would even say that I think Terminator is a horror movie as well. I think there's something just very scary about watching someone's eyes glaze over and they are just a total murderer, and they have a goal and they are going to accomplish that goal. And I think David really like lives up to that. Yeah. When I was a kid, watching like the original 1984 Terminator, like the kicking in the door and the Sarah Connor of it all, that's really, really scary. Like, you don't traditionally think of Terminator as a horror movie, but it is like, it's that it crosses that sci-fi horror boundary.
Yeah, I think it's similar in a lot of ways to like a zombie movie where a lot of the fear is like the relentless nature of it. The fact that at some point you're going to get tired and they'll just keep coming after you.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. Lance Reddick, we love him. He's in John Wick as well. That's what's so funny as well is like John Wick is like you take this, take the horror out of this, and it's John Wick. Now you're rooting for David. Rooting for David, that's John Wick. If you're scared of David, that's the guest.
Yep.
But yeah, Lance Reddick as this like government agent who like he really sells it too. Like that's when you know how scary David is. It's like when you see Lance Reddick as this like grizzled dude who you know is like seen a lot of action, and when you just see it on his face that he's that scared, like, you know, like, oh, we're in the shit right now. Yeah, man, he's really good in this. He's kind of the Donald Pleasance, I guess, of this.
Mm-hmm. Sure, Loomis.
Yeah, he's sort of the Dr. Loomis, and he really accomplishes it. And I would say probably like 2 or 3 scenes, but yeah, just like does so much to sell the immediate horror of like, oh, we've fucked up. Yeah.
So once they had finally figured out the tone that they wanted, they said, we're going to do sort of an 80s homage, but they said they specifically didn't want to do a stylistic homage because those movies already exist. They're from the 80s. They wanted to take the ingredients and change it up, but still endeavor to have some of these time period genre hallmarks, like the clueless parents and the kids who figure it all out. You know, the incredible score inspired by 80s goth and electronica done by Steve Moore. Really fantastic work by him as well.
Oh man, the score, I can't say enough about the score. It's incredible. It really like kind of reminds me of Carpenter. I mean, like it's just very, very good. Like I said, that weird thing that they do to kind of like transition scenes that kind of I still don't even know what to call it, but like the weird kind of like sting that they do is like, it's just incredible. Like, yeah, and I think in the party scene, there's you get some more of it. It's yeah, I love that 80s synth. I mean, it's been done a little bit to death, I think, in recent years. I think you've seen like in like Stranger Things and stuff like that, they're really pushing it hard. So you've seen like they've kind of really leaned on it hard, but like this is a few years ago. Gosh, I guess probably like 10 years ago at this point. But like really at this point, like it was kind of a novelty to like bring that synth back.
Definitely. And that synthwave and robotic killer aspects aren't the only Carpenter-esque influence, though. You know, they use Albertus as the title font, which is the classic A Film by John Carpenter font. And although it's not directly Carpenter, plenty of references to Halloween 3 as well. You know, when David walks into the Halloween dance, there's a huge image projected on the back of the 3 masks from Halloween 3. And one thing I really like is that they specifically use the title to position the character as an antagonist, even before you're on board with that decision. You know, it's very othering and calls to mind movies like The Thing, The Fly. You know, it's the guest. He's the looming image in your mind the whole time, even when you're on his side at the beginning.
Yeah, man. You can see the Carpenter influence is really all over this thing, and I'm such a huge Carpenter fan, so I really appreciated all of that. I just vibed with this movie just from beginning to end. Like I said, it's one that I show people just because it kind of flew under the radar a little bit. I do think it has kind of gained a cult following, but it is one that you can still impress a date by showing them The Guest. It's just kind of under the radar out there where yeah,
definitely. More people should be watching this movie. It's a crying shame to me that unfortunately the movie did flop on release. It only opened up in 19 theaters, and then at its widest was only in 53. So it's not like it had the biggest push behind it, but it had a $5 million budget and it made 2.7 back worldwide. So not ideal, but like you say, the reception to it was positive. The people who saw it liked it. And, that cult following has built up over the years. I think more and more people are starting to talk about it, especially now with sort of a little bit of a remove, and we can see how this has survived the test of time a little bit better than some of its peers.
Yeah, when I went to that Alamo Drafthouse screening, which was just it was right before the pandemic, so probably 2019, I guess. But yeah, it took someone to that who had never seen it before. She loved it, and Wingard was there. He did a little Q&A after.
Oh wow!
It was huge. It was very, very cool. And yeah, it's always a joy to show this to people. I'm such a big fan of everything these guys do. I even like their, this is neither here nor there, but I like their Blair Witch personally. I think that one I think was a little underrated in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm just such a big fan of these guys. I think that they are just so good at being fans of the genre in ways that pays great homage to it and in lots of very valuable ways, and then also subverts it in some very fun ways as well.
Definitely. Yeah. And as far as Blair Witch, I think that was really kind of a no-win situation for them where the groups of people that they had to please were so different that, I don't know how anyone could have done it really. And I think that it has a lot to offer as well. So I agree. Go check that out too.
They finally showed the witch, You didn't think you're ever going to see the witch. You see the witch.
There you go. It only took 3 movies.
For Blair Witch, yeah.
As far as this movie, the one last thing, as far as production run goes, the movie was originally significantly longer, about 20 minutes. And they trimmed a bunch of the exposition about David's past. Now, like you say, this movie is so tight. It functions so well. It keeps moving the entire time. And I think that this was a really good idea to cut a lot of this exposition, because even if you're curious about David's past, the movie is not really about that. I think that having that mystery to him helps to keep him interesting, helps to sort of let you project your own thoughts onto it. Maybe, I've seen people think that maybe he is Caleb, the son. I think that Simon and Adam have since said, we like that theory. It wasn't our intention, but certainly you're allowed to read whatever you want into it. And that he got the plastic surgery and came back to try and help them. But, I just think it was a really good decision to leave David's past pretty nebulous and just have people be like, I don't have time to explain, stab.
Yeah, I didn't know that. You just gave me some information. So I didn't realize that there was that much sitting on the cutting room floor.
There's 15 minutes in the deleted scenes on the Blu-ray.
That's wild to me. Yeah, like I said, one of my favorite things about this movie is that there's just no fat on it. And I can't imagine there being more, but I would, as a fan, I would just like to, I will check it out because I would just like to see it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's a great decision, because I think that everything in this movie is it's just it's like an engine that's just chugging along, and
just like him,
just gets you right to the end. It gets you right to that haunted house and right to him. Oh man, yeah, everything. Him giving the thumbs up to the sun.
Terminator again.
I don't know how much we want to get into spoilers, but yeah, man, it's an incredible performance, man. Too, like, God, if you would have told me that this dude's biggest credit before this was Downton Abbey, like, he just seems like he just immediately sells himself as this badass.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah,
he does a great job. And we'll be spoiling the whole thing as we'll work our way through it. So it'll people who don't want to be spoiled should go and watch the movie.
They should have seen it already.
Yeah. So to get into the actual movie, starts off, we just see a military guy running, very mysterious. Boom, the guest, big Carpenter font. And it opens up into, as you say, Halloween time, great looking scarecrow, right, to open things up. I love that. And we see this sort of normal looking family going about their business in the morning. Mom is sad over a military remembrance for her son on the mantelpiece. And ding dong, who could that be? It's Dan Stevens, charming as hell. Mrs. Peterson, it's me, David. I'm here to honor your son, Caleb. And she invites him in. And this is such an interesting thing to me because Simon himself said that this is one of the biggest hurdles, making it believable that this is someone who they would invite in while also still making it believable that he would be tough and be able to do all the things that he winds up doing. And I think that, it's very early on and we've already sort of been gushing about how Dan Stevens is perfect in this, but it's so much of this movie, don't get me wrong, the supporting actors are absolutely fantastic as well. But so much of this movie rests on his shoulders and his making sure that every action he does is believable. And it really starts right here in this introduction to him.
Yeah, it's like you said, like it's a tough sell, but he sells it because let's not dance around it. He's hot as hell. And he's charming. And he just really, really, he like logically, like from like a story standpoint, he's able to point himself out in a picture.
Yes.
Where Caleb has been training. And so logically from like the family standpoint, like his story is kind of bulletproof. Like he is there. So you can't deny that like he did know their son.
Yeah.
And he just really sells the hell out of it. And he doesn't it's like you said, like they really like plant the seeds so well. It's like, you get one shot of him sitting in his room staring at the wall. He
houses the water that she offers him.
Yeah. Like that's a little strange, I guess. But like they do this slow roll with him where you don't get the full psycho for like several scenes. And so you're like, I like this guy. I like David.
Yeah, really great. He launches into this tale, like you say, his story. He explains to them that he got discharged from the military after taking some shrapnel in the back. And he came here because he promised Caleb that he'd check in on his family and he'd tell each of them that he loved them. Really amazing performance by Sheila Kelly as Laura Peterson here. She's trying so hard to choke back tears. She has to excuse herself. Just a really powerful performance by her in this whole movie, but in particular this scene.
Yeah. Oh my God, she's so great. And Megan, how do you say it? Maika Monroe. She was, first of all, really having a moment around this couple of years.
Yeah, this and It Follows, incredible.
It Follows. She's in the fucking Independence Day sequel that wasn't good, but still was like But like, all these things happen like within a couple of years, and like she's so you got the mom, and she's the one who's just on David's side, like implicitly, and you get why. You completely understand why. It's because David's so charming, and he fully like has the family under his spell. The dad, you can kind of tell, is an alcoholic. I mean, literally every scene of that. I forget the actor who plays the dad. He's such a great character actor, though. He's in so many.
Leland Orser.
Yeah, Leland Orser. He's incredible, and literally, if you go back and watch it, every single scene he asks David if he wants a drink.
It's so funny. It's so funny.
And there's little seeds planted there too of like, he's got a rival at work who David takes notice of that. There's this rival at work that he maybe wants to overthrow or something like that.
Yeah.
And Mike and Moreau, she's the only one in the family who's skeptical of it. The son is he's getting bullied at school, and so he cottons to David immediately because David picks him up from school, and David's like, who's the one who's beating you up? Let's go. Oh God.
Oh man, we'll get to that scene. It's incredible when the whole thing is great. But yeah,
but as an audience member, you identify with Micah, and you like, she's skeptical and we're skeptical, and so you're kind of following along with her journey of like, you're skeptical of him, but also she's kind of turned on by him too, which is the whole
Yeah.
He comes out of the shower and
sure, who could blame her?
Yeah. Look, the man he has a 12-pack. I mean, shit, he's got more abs than anyone has ever had before on film.
Laura asks him to stay so that Anna can meet him. She also asks him to stay for the evening. And like you say, Luke is off at school getting bullied. I love the second guy who does like but doesn't actually do anything. Classic bully hype man.
Yeah.
And that night, Laura and her husband, Spencer, start arguing in the hallway about David's being invited to stay. You know, Spencer feels like he isn't respected by anybody, you know, at work, in his family. And so he is sort of pushing back against this, feeling like he got steamrolled, while David and Luke have kind of awkward conversation in the dining room. And Luke says this is not the first time that they've been arguing. Yeah,
you could sort of view their family dysfunction through the prism of David being this new angle on all of it. And you get the sense that some of these problems seem to have been going on for a while. Like, you get the sense that the dad maybe has been drinking for a little bit, and
money troubles.
Yes, and that they've all been grieving, obviously, the loss of Caleb. And yeah.
Definitely. Meanwhile, Anna and her secret boyfriend, Zeke, played by former guest of this very podcast, Chase Williamson.
That dude rules.
Yeah, super cool.
Yeah, fellow Chase, big fan.
Hi, Chase. Great job in this movie.
Yeah.
And they're smoking weed on some swings while she says that she's a little unhappy with the visit because her parents are trying to move on and they don't need the reminder, which is, I think, a really interesting sort of twist on why she's uncomfortable. And like, even if she does believe that he's there for a good reason, like, this would be such an emotional hurdle for her family to have to come up against in this grieving process. A living, breathing reminder, they say.
Yeah, you watch her kind of juggle with it. It's you know, like I said, she's kind of having a strange journey because she doesn't like being reminded of her brother's death, but also is kind of horny for this dude.
Yeah.
It's weird. It reminded me, I think it's intentional, but it reminded me a little bit of the Sean Archer scenes in Face Off when John Travolta is playing Nicolas Cage, playing John Travolta, staying at his own house with his family. And his daughter in that movie, Dominique Swain, there's like a weird scene where she's like kind of like turned on by her dad. There's not a good way to say it, but it's a very similar kind of vibe to where it's like, oh, here's this like guy who seems kind of dangerous out of nowhere all of a sudden. And like, he's not really what I expected. And yeah, that's sort of the same vibe that you get here in this scene when he comes out of the shower and shit like that.
Yeah.
Right before he goes to this party with her.
Right. Well, we see Spencer. This is where he starts really getting drunk and opens up to David about his troubles, insists that he stays a few more days. I love that, you know, they're already like drunk. He's like, wow, you can really put them back. And he's like, we'll have a few more beers to celebrate. And then I'm off to bed, really driving home that alcoholism. He's in rough shape, dude. This guy is numbing himself with booze in an ugly way.
Never stops. Yeah.
This is when David picks up Luke from school the next day. It takes a funny amount of time for Luke to realize it's not his mom when he gets in the car. And he points out the bullies to David, who says he's not going to do anything bad, but follows them to a bar that serves the football players. Luke eventually heads inside after David, and the bullies are shocked to see him. The score here, like we said, incredible. David orders himself a Fireball, which is cinnamon schnapps and Tabasco. Sounds terrible.
Ridiculous drink order.
Yes.
I honestly think that's the moment where I was like, David is a psychopath.
I also like that the bartender, like, he's like, of course I know how to make that. And it's like, how many people are ordering this drink? But David also orders some blowjob shots for the bullies' girlfriends. And after some prodding from the bartender, orders some Cosmos for the bullies themselves. We also see in this moment that he has a huge wad of $100 bills saying cash is easy to get. That's eerie.
Yeah, this whole scene, I mean, it's one of the, it's really like, it's really when the story clicks into gear. And it's kind of, it's still early enough in the movie that you're still kind of rooting for David in a weird way. He's sticking up for the son who's being bullied, and like, so it's still very easy to kind of like get on board with him.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's all kind of funny. I mean, like, it's like getting blowjob shots with all kinds, like it's all everything is kind of expertly executed.
Yeah.
And,
perfectly calibrated to piss them off.
It's everything before he kills the first guy is still kind of harmless enough where it's like, oh, I still, yeah. I think he might break a few bones in the scene or something like that. But
right.
Yeah, it's like it's all justified, and you can really see where the son, which is a storyline that continues through the movie. The son really kind of empathizes with David, and David has helped him, and so he's still very loyal to David.
Oh yeah, he's so impressed. Like David asked him, like, why don't you have any friends? And the kid goes like, I have lots of friends online. They're not here. So he's clearly very lonely. David is a cool guy with a drink that tastes like shit and a pile full of money. And like David offers him even a sip of the drink. And we see that Luke wants to seem cool. He throws himself at the drink, obviously hates it. And David says, you get used to it. And, this is one of the things where it's like kind of a look into his past without having to get too much exploration. Like, we talk about there, they talk later about the conditioning that he went through and everything. And this sort of like just getting used to terrible things being a part of who he is, I think says a lot about him without having to really spell it out for you.
Yeah, I think it's really speaks to one of the things that I like a lot about this movie is it's exposition in a way that doesn't feel painful. I think all the exposition in this movie in terms of like David's past and things like that, like are all handled like incredibly well. I think it's like they're divvied out very in small doses, and
sure.
It's never in a way that feels like it's too much. Yeah.
The bully throws the Cosmo in David's face, and David looks psyched to finally be getting into it.
Yes. He's been like successfully baited into a fight, and he cannot wait to break some bones.
He throws his drink in the bully's face, and it does a lot more than be wet on account of all the hot sauce and cinnamon. Yeah. And commence fight. It rules. He ruins those guys' football careers. I'll tell you that for free. All kinds of fun sound editing too. Like you said, the snapping bones. There's fun like whip snaps as he's like throwing punches and stuff. It's fun. It's over the top. I love it.
You can tell, like watching the movie and knowing the story, like you can tell that it's like, all right, this is the last moment that we can kind of be on board with David. I know he's going to go too far after this, but this right now, this is good. Like this is. If it were to stop right now, he's just a fun guy who helped out his friend who was getting bullied.
Yeah. They pay the bartender off and they make good their escape. Although Luke took quite the punch in the face. His mom is freaked, and Anna is unimpressed by David's offer to teach Luke self-defense. And the mom guilts Anna into inviting David to the party she's going to with her. He showers to get ready, like you said. They have a little encounter in the hallway where she, not without reason, is very flustered by David's hot bod. And when they get to the party, he, 1, agrees to keep Anna's secret boyfriend a secret, and 2, impresses the hostess, Kristen, by being hot and strong and bringing in the kegs from the van by himself while Zeke is inside smoking.
He carries the hell out of those kegs. Yeah, the whole scene is a little. It's a little uncomfortable because he kind of has a little bit of like sexual tension with the daughter, which continues throughout the scene. It continues all the way to their drive home that night because he sleeps with a friend, the host of the party, like you said,
right? And
because he's so good at carrying kegs. And,
well, he also basically destroys the life of her ex who arrives to cause trouble.
Ruins that guy. Yeah, and then but then she kind of agrees to make like a mixtape for him on the way home or something like that, which is it feels very like an intimate gesture.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I was like, man, kids these days, you could put dozens of songs on a playlist. a CD like that, you had limited space. You had to kill your darlings.
Yeah. The seeds are kind of sown for the darker David that we're starting to get. He makes plans at that party to buy guns. I believe the next day.
Yeah. From Craig. Craig the Stoner, played with aplomb by Joel David Moore. Always fun to see that guy show up.
Excellent in this. Really, really good. And just 2 scenes, basically. Ethan Embry shows up as well.
Yeah, also good.
Very good. Looking a little older than you've seen him last, probably. But both of them really, really great. This is like what we're talking about right now is the turn for David. Like it is the character turn. When he shows up to this gun buy.
2 other things that I like about this scene. One, somebody is wearing, the guy whose seat that David takes is wearing a mask from You're Next on top of his head, which is fun. And things get intense with Craig. I really like the interactions that he has with him. He's like, "Oh, we support you guys." He's like,
he gets him shit for like not enlisting. He's like, "Oh, you support us. Oh, not enough to enlist."
Right.
and does that thing, that kind of classic movie thing where you wait a beat and he's like, "I'm just fucking with it."
By the way, can I buy a gun? And he drives home, and Anna also opens up to him about her troubles, like you say, with Zeke and his Arrested Development. And there's that sexual tension. He's finally winning her over, plying her with flattery, asking for this mix CD. But that night, again, we check in with David. He's sitting there like a robot again.
Yeah, man. I think that's such a good device too. I think that the simplicity of a character just staring at a wall is like so like simple and scary. Mm-hmm. It's really, really like lays the seeds there of this guy is something's not right with him.
Yeah. The next morning, Anna hears him talking on the phone, and he's saying stuff like, "Dental records, I don't need an orthodontist, just a new face. I'm off the grid." And she's freaked out. She calls the army to ask about him, and the army lady who searches for David Anderson Collins pulls up a completely redacted file with a photo of somebody who is definitely not Dan Stevens and a prompt that says, "Records classified. Contact KPG Corporation immediately."
Yeah, and this kind of, I think, is where you get Lance Reddick kind of entering the story, and that, and like I said, he really like lets you know the stakes immediately, because as soon it registers on his face, like when he hears that David is out among the world, like he is like, we need to tackle this immediately.
He's in the middle of what seems like a very important business meeting. And he just drops it all.
Yeah, and like I said, he really is kind of the Dr. Loomis of this. Like as soon as he is clued into everything, like he drops everything that he's doing, like you said, and he gets in a car and goes. He gets a bunch of mercenaries, basically, who are just going to be meat for the grinder, and is like, we need to get to this place immediately.
David goes the next day to get his gun. A great scene, like we said. He kills the dealer and our pal Craig, R.I.P. Although Craig runs on a perfectly straight line, and I'm like, come on, dude, make it a little difficult.
Yeah, come on.
Turns out there's a few grenades in the truck as well, which is a fun little setup.
Yes, that will be paid off later, of course. Yeah, it's really fun to like watch. Like I said, this is where David officially kind of breaks bad, and everything after this is just watching the depths to how much of a psychopath he is. And like, and it gets, and he never stops being David the whole time. Like he's still charming the entire time that he's killing people. And yeah, it's, whatever gun he uses, I think it is it Joel David Moore, is that his name?
Yeah.
I think it blows his head off. Like, I think you watch his head pop off of his body. It's actually pretty wild.
It's definitely intense. It's a very fun scene. The army calls Anna back and says David is dead. But before she can tell mom, Dad's home, immediately pouring a drink for himself, and says that the boss, right, of course, he says that the boss that he was complaining about to David is dead. Imagine that. Looks like a double suicide with his girlfriend, no forced entry, and that makes him the regional manager now. Good for you, Spencer.
Yeah, I actually love that there's these kind of like just spoken David kills that you don't even really get to see. Like, it really kind of adds to the entire like mystique of him and just how good of like a psychopathic killer he is. And
right.
The fact that this is just something that was introduced to you in dialogue, and now David is like taking care of it completely off screen. It's very cool and scary. Actually, it really adds to, like I said, like the kind of horror of it all.
Yeah. And it's in this moment as well that Zeke calls Anna to tell her about Craig's death. And she goes to tell him about David, but he gets pulled over and has to go.
Yeah. And that kind of too, the fact that those happen back to back, like it really speaks to the overarching nature of like David's smothering kind of influence on this family's lives.
Yeah.
The fact that he just has kind of like swooped in and just kind of taken over, and he's really playing by his own rules and like his own moral code. And it's like, oh, the dad is struggling against this guy for this job. Well, I will kill the guy and his girlfriend.
Right.
Mike Monroe has this boyfriend who's a drug dealer. Well, he's gone. You know what? He's going to jail. Like, he really has just kind of like taken it upon himself to solve what he feels are this family's woes, you know, obviously before he has to eventually turn on the family itself.
Right. Anna stops in at work to commiserate with Kristen about Craig, and she also tells her about David. So now Kristen knows as well, and she suggests checking out the numbers that he's called and having her brother check them out on the computer. Her brother, who is currently watching David fricassee a jack-o'-lantern with his butterfly.
That, you know, continues going to David's bond with brother. You know, obviously, this is something that you continue to see throughout the movie, is that like the brother is kind of morally compromised, where like there's one point where he says to David, like he knows that he killed these people and he doesn't care.
Right. We're friends.
We're friends. Yeah. And it's pretty dark. It's a pretty dark moment for the brother. But yeah, it just shows you how charismatic David is, that he like really worms his way in.
Definitely. I mean, even the advice that he gives him in this scene about like, take a knife to school with you, and if they beat you up and take it off you, burn down their houses. What's the worst that could happen? And you're like, this is one of the real horror elements for me, that somebody who is so psychotic could so easily become a role model for someone who is downtrodden like this, you know, the oppressed seeking to become the oppressors instead.
Yeah, it's very kids got some big Columbine vibes.
Definitely. And it does feel like David might be leading him down that path.
Right.
Anna comes home and she snags David's phone, taking a photo of the recent calls, but then putting the ringing phone in Caleb's room to make it look like he forgot it. Of course, he doesn't buy that. And he listens outside her door for a second before moving on. But now we see that he knows that she knows.
Yeah, that's a really wonderful part of this movie too, is kind of the cat and mouse with her and David, like with him knowing that she knows, and something really that Lance Reddick's character provides is he gives you so much good exposition about David's character, and really actually kind of like, in a way, kind of like, not, I wouldn't say redeems him, but says that like it's almost not David's fault. It's almost like his programming, that like once he finds out that his identity has been compromised, he will just do whatever it takes to solve that and will kill whoever stands in his way.
Right. No loose ends.
And that becomes the family, that becomes like, and so you kind of get the sense that like, I mean, not that Mike and Monroe like should have done anything differently, but that like her calling Lance Reddick sort of is a catalyst for David just killing whoever he can to get out of this situation. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. Zeke calls her from jail now because they found the gun that killed Craig in Zeke's van. And regardless of his innocence in this matter, the police searched his room and drugs and stuff. And so, like you say, Zeke is just another casualty of Hurricane David. You know, he was fighting with his girlfriend he was about to go on tour with his band. So, maybe he was turning his life around. And unfortunately, we'll never know because Zeke just goes to jail.
Yeah, we don't really get satisfaction on Zeke. We don't really find out what happens. I have to assume once David's spree, his killing spree, I guess you would call it, goes public, I would have to assume that would be good for Zeke in terms of getting out of jail. But we don't really learn what happens with him.
Yeah, maybe that's explored in the You're Next and the guest crossover.
Oh man, I really want it to happen. I like whatever.
Maybe this is the
guys
push.
got out now. I don't know. I just really wanted to make it.
Anna tells the family about Craig and Zeke and reveals that she was still seeing him to her father, who is pissed. And she lashes back out and says, "Oh, what about David? Everybody's best friend. He's freaking dead." And he plays it off, and he does have the dog tags, so the family believes him. And Anna stalks off. He goes after her, though, and she's very nervous when he comes in the room. And he apologizes to her about Craig and Zeke, but says, "Hey, I'm moving on soon, so you only have to deal with me a couple more days." And he leans into the shadow to get intimidating. Just really fun stuff where, like, he's being very charming, he's being very polite, but just the actual body language and the lighting of the scene is just so perfect to actually chill you when he's doing this.
Oh yeah, this is where the honeymoon is really over between the two of them, where like he had his brief moment where she was like very intrigued by him and like kind of turned on by his hotness and everything, and like that is all out the window now. He
does still take the CD.
She knows that he's killed her friend. She knows that he's put her boyfriend in jail. Like it's all on the table. She continues to kind of be the audience surrogate in the sense that like she's the only one who knows what's going on. She knows it before anybody. And yeah, everybody else is kind of playing catch up.
Yeah. One of the numbers is a doctor who lost his license, and Anna asks Luke to get any info he can because she thinks that David killed Craig correctly. And Luke is on his computer in class when my favorite bully of all, the double popped collar kid who was just about to impress some ladies with a magic trick, he decides it's bully time.
I love the balls on this guy. I love it. He's fully gotten his ass kicked by David already. And he still has the fucking balls to to try and fuck with this kid again. Like, dude, Come on, buddy. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah, well, it certainly doesn't go well for him when Luke takes David's advice and matches the escalation with the bully by breaking a yardstick on his jaw.
Yeah. Oh, man.
David is very impressed by this and transmutes the fairly certain expulsion into after-school detention for a month, helping the prom committee set up for the Halloween dance by saying that the bully was committing a hate crime by attacking him while using the F slur.
Yeah, don't they say that they get him out of it by saying that he's gay?
Yeah, right. And the principal's like, I didn't even know he was gay. So, well, it worked. And I do also want to point out the poster on the wall for the dance when they're leaving the principal's office is like a jack-o'-lantern head guy holding a severed head to carve, where I was like, that feels very intense for a school to have up. Luke steps outside to snitch on his sister to David as thanks for this help and for all of the things that he's done. And he says that he doesn't care if David killed Craig, but he just wanted him to know. He also accuses David of killing Dad's boss, but he won't say anything, like you said, because they're friends, right? And he also says that she maybe told Kristen. So now Luke has just signed her death warrant as well.
Yeah, Luke, I mean, like, yes, he, sort of like comes around in the end and helps kill David or bring David to justice. We'll get to that. But yeah, man, he sort of gets some people killed.
Yeah, definitely. And Laura thanks David for everything he's done, not just today, but for the whole time. And he goes to collect more laundries when the suits Yukons roll up and outpour a bunch of these military contractors looking for Anna. They ask about David, and we get a classic "he's right behind me, isn't he" moment when David reemerges from behind a sheet, drops the basket, and pulls a gun, immediately dispatching one and diving into the house. Really fun sort of reveal of this battle that's about to happen here.
Oh man, these like very highly paid mercenary dudes. He makes very quick work of them to the extent where you're like, man, how much are we paying those guys?
Presumably they weren't able to collect, but they even like open up with a machine gun. Like they're shooting thousands of rounds at this admittedly semi-rural home, but it really feels like they're having a lot of fun taking this a little over the top, like just blowing this house to pieces.
Yeah, it's a super fun scene. It really breaks into like the action horror of the action of it.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, man, you really get to see David at his most John Wick, I think, in this sequence. Yeah.
And he apologizes to Laura, but kills her as an unneeded complication as she tries to call for the men outside. He does reveal first that he did know her son and that he was in the same program as him, which if he was in the same program, but maybe not the same unit, I'm like, did he put that photo in the frame while she went and cried? Which is fucked up.
Yeah, it's all a little unclear. This sort of speaks to the Lance Reddick dialogue about once David is kind of going along his programming, he kind of can't turn back, because you kind of get the sense that he doesn't want to kill her, but he does it anyway. And like, you know, so he does this, and then a couple scenes later, he kills the father as well. We can talk about that, but yeah, you really do get the sense that like he did like these people, but he will do anything that he can to preserve his identity.
Yeah, and he does make it out in the car. Carver is the only surviving member of this mercenary force. And David sees Spencer on the road, buckles up, crashes into him on purpose. I do think that it's kind of interesting that he tries to take him out as like swiftly as possible, I guess. It doesn't work, and he's sitting there like bleeding out, and he has to shoot him. But he like, I guess, tries to make it quick for him.
You do get the sense that he like really like with the whole family, like you get the sense that like he doesn't want to be doing this, but he's just gonna do it.
Compelled,
like,
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest, Spencer was probably drunk behind the wheel.
True. Well, now he's regional manager. He has to shape up.
But yeah, it's he
pop. Actually, just pop. It takes one shot to the chest, and that's all it takes. But Carver commandeers a civilian car, and he gets Anna. And it's so funny to me that she just believes this guy after he flashes a badge super quick because he's like, I'm military police. And it's like, learn from your experience with David. David shows up, gets no real answers from Katrina, and says, fuck this, shoots her, rolls the 2 grenades in to kill everyone else in the diner who was a witness. It's very funny how, like, up to this point,
we're going to talk about how no one has ever looked handsomer rolling 2 grenades into a man.
It's very impressive.
Like, he walks back in and he just like lets him go, and man, he really just fucking killed everybody in that diner, huh?
Very casually.
Anybody could have survived that, and yeah. Yeah,
it's great. It's great. It's not quite military precision like some of the other ones, but he's certainly taking him out like he needs to.
But now we're really well on our way towards he fully has become like a horror movie villain at this point, and which culminates in him going back to the school and trying to find the 2 kids in this maze in this haunted house maze.
Yeah, and this maze looks incredible. I love the whole entire look of it. What a fun idea for this school. Feels like they must spend the majority of their budget on this one school dance. But Luke is helping to set up. So he's at the school because of the detention. Carver and Anna are going there because they're like, oh, he's going to go for Luke. And suddenly the lights go out and the For David mix starts playing.
Yes, which is it really like it kind of brings everything full circle. This is the mix that she made for him earlier in the film during the brief moment where she was still kind of enraptured by him before she realized what a psycho he was. And so he puts that on. It's this crazy cool like synth mix, which is just really a joy to watch play over this scene. they're walking through this haunted house and there's like dry ice and shit like that. So like there's a kind of a mist around their legs and things like that. And yeah, and it just becomes a cat and mouse game literally in this haunted house. And it kind of really becomes full. It really goes full horror movie right here in the end, because it's Halloween. They are running from a killer, and everything's on the table. He has killed their parents. The son doesn't even know that yet. But yeah, things get very like scary in a fun way.
Yeah, I mean, even amazing showdown in the Hall of Mirrors, where like the teacher gets his throat cut with the box cutter and like just like falls out in front of the kids. Like a really great horror moments. And it's a very cool place for a showdown, the Hall of Mirrors.
Yeah, remind me of I want to say Enter the Dragon.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say there's a Hall of Mirrors scene at the end of that movie, and yeah, it's nothing creepier than a Hall of Mirrors, man. It's, you know, for obvious reasons. I mean, like, yeah, it's like feels like a very easy place to hide. There's a Hall of Mirrors in Us as well. Another great horror movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like good place to hide, good place to jump out at somebody.
Yeah.
Nice.
He gets Carver. He jumps out and stabs Carver as well. And Carver drops the gun and dies. So that's a kind of a fun subversion too.
Very quickly too. Like he died. He dies so quick, and it's like, oh man.
Yeah.
I mean, he did last longer than all the other dudes, but still dies like pretty
not with a bang, but with a whimper.
Yeah, pretty gloriously.
Right. Ingloriously, even.
Ingloriously. There we go.
But yeah, it's really great, fun subversion for him to sort of just get taken out like that, very casually. But Luke says David wouldn't hurt us. And Anna asks him to trust her. So funny. Last little like joke moment for them here, where the jump scare animatronic scares her again on the way out too.
Yeah. Oh man, I love all the haunted house stuff. It's so good.
Yeah.
God, I wish my high school had done a haunted house. It's so cool. But yes, very, very, all very, very good, fun stuff. Super Halloweeny, super horror movie-y.
Yeah. She tells Luke that David killed mom and dad. And although she doesn't know that for sure, really, because the Carver just said that the parents were really hurt, but she asks him to hide in a box, and she promises that she'll come back for him.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, David is apologizing and saying, "Hey, Luke, come on out. I won't hurt you." Although he certainly will. And he gets distracted by a big noise right at the last second when it looks like he's about to find Luke. And he sees that the gun he left with Carver is missing, and he smirks. And I love that little moment for him where he realizes that maybe these kids might just get the drop on him.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what she does.
I love that too. I think it's kind of like you never really hate David in this the whole time. And like that charm kind of extends all the way to right here, where like he's impressed by the fact that they've got the jump on him. And like it's all kind of cute. Like it goes all the way to him giving that thumbs up to Luke. Like it's like he's impressed that they were able to do this. And yeah, I don't know. David rules.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like it. This whole scene, now that he's left, he goes to the dance floor. This also looks amazing. Fog filled, sounds amazing. The music is popping off. And she shoots David. Anna shoots David when he admits to killing the parents, and he knifes her in the thigh. She fires and hits a lantern, causing a fire. And he starts to choke her out, but he finally stops when Luke steps in and stabs David with the knife that David himself gave him, which is a real sort of passing of the torch. But also, hopefully, Luke has been disillusioned enough to understand that this guy maybe wasn't giving him the best advice.
I mean, hopefully the killing of your parents would tell you. I mean, everything beyond that, everything before that is, you can let
out
it
the window.
Technically, killing your mom and dad, I think. People who brought you into this world.
Yeah. And David says Luke did the right thing, and he absolves him as he croaks with a little thumbs up, like you say, again, very Terminator. And the flames grow higher on the hay bales. In loving memory, R.I.P., says the tombstone above David. which is very funny as he like just lays there with the fake tombstone right above him. And the kids live to fight another day, but hey, there's only 2 corpses inside, both with smashed out teeth. And hey, who's that firefighter limping away? Amazing ending. I just love this. Super fun.
Honestly, one of my favorite endings to a movie ever. I love this idea that like David just like can't die. Like it's almost like he even like wanted to die in that scene, but they just can't do it. Like he can't bring himself to die. And so so Anna, like in that last scene, I think she actually says like, "What the fuck," which is such a good. Again, she's just the audience. Like she's just you watching, being like, "What the fuck?" Honestly, like you're not fucking dead. It's amazing. It's a perfect ending to a perfect movie. Not even that it would like lead to a sequel. I would love it to, but like even just the idea that David just can't be killed.
Yeah, it's great. And now, Chase, we've reached the part of the episode where we sum up why this isn't just a good horror movie, but is in fact the best horror movie ever made. And I'm going to let you start.
I think that it is just honestly, aside from Halloween, I cannot think of a more perfect Halloween movie than this movie. You really feel the feeling of fall all the way through it, like even before you get to the haunted house ending, which is just perfect. David is just such a great antagonist because, as we've been saying, just like such a charming, charismatic dude who like you never hate, but like compare this to other, horror movie villains like Jason or Freddy. I mean, Freddy has some personality, but like really most of those guys are like avatars, like that you just like, they just don't have a lot of, say Michael Myers. He's one of the, most classic horror movie villains of all time. He's literally called the Shape in the script because he doesn't have a personality. David just oozes personality. He is just the most charismatic. Like you said, walks into this party carrying 2 kegs. He's got one on his shoulder and one. He's a fucking beefcake. We love this guy.
Mm-hmm. Hubba hubba.
This is just it is just a perfect Halloween movie. It is a perfect horror action movie. Yeah. Also, like I was saying, just right in like the prime years of the Maika Monroe, just being an absolute star with this, and It Follows coming out like back to back.
Yeah,
it rules. It rules top to bottom. I love this movie. It is a favorite of mine, and like I said, it is one that I love to introduce other people to.
Hell yeah. I totally agree. To me, this is the best horror movie ever made because it is so unique. There is such a fascinating tone where it is so straight-faced the whole time, but there is a lot of humor to it. There's a lot of heart to it. There's some really incredibly written characters. Everyone feels real, even in the moments that David is doing these crazy action movie things. At the core of him, we're still believing in the character because it got to that point in a way that feels natural. And that writing is just incredibly well done. I also think, I see the Michael Myers and I see the Terminator stuff, but one thing that I don't see people talking about as much is, to me, this also feels very Frankensteinian, with his sort of trying to help out, but this monster that got made through no recourse of his own is accidentally causing all this mayhem that leads to his own demise. He's trying to help this family, but all he knows is how to like kill. And so these things that he's doing ostensibly for their benefit wind up creating these ripple effects that take out not just the entire family, but himself as well, or at least his dreams of helping them.
I think that's so right. I think you nailed it, man. I like that. That really is another aspect of this that I think is so important, is that like he means well. Like it sounds so weird to say because he kills so many people, but like he has a good heart, kind of. Yeah, he really wanted to help this family, and he just like, it's like Lance Reddick says, it's like once his programming gets in the way, like he just can't be stopped.
Definitely. And the performances are top to bottom incredible. Every single person who comes on screen totally understands what they're there to do. they absolutely knock it out of the park in every aspect, not just Dan Stevens, although he certainly brings a certain elevation to it as well. It's just fantastic all around. And it's the best horror movie ever made. What do you want from me?
You're great.
Chase, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show, man. This was so much fun. Please, this is plug time. Anything that you want to send people towards, your social media, all that jazz.
Thank you so much for having me, first of all. And also, please watch Inside Job. It's on Netflix right now, season 1. I don't know if I can officially announce this yet, but we may have some more episodes that are coming out next year. You stay tuned for that if you're a fan of the show. And if you watch late night, the Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, I'm still doing some stuff for that. So
there you go. Yeah. I think Inside Job is very cool. There's some very cool horror-y things, like there's a power loader that she gets in, and a Thing-esque body horror monstrosity at one point. So lots of cool stuff.
Yeah, I kept putting a Thing-esque in the script. That's my episode, actually. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go.
2 episodes from the first season. Yeah.
Well, it all clicks then. And as far as my plugs, you can find me on Twitter at Little Horror PHL. That username extends pretty much everywhere. This is the new year, so I don't know. Just sign up for the Patreon and make your voice heard about what you want to see from the bonus episodes moving forward. We've covered all kinds of fun stuff over the course of this, things that maybe don't necessarily fit as squarely into the horror genre, like Alana Johnston came on to talk about why Freaky Friday 2003 is the best horror movie ever made. So lots of cool stuff.
Yeah.
So check that out. Just a couple bucks a month. And that's it. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.